Democrats. Today is Wednesday, January 17th, and it's time for the Chairs Live. So, happy Wednesday. So, I haven't decided how frequently I'm going to go live, but what I do know is that when there becomes a thing that I absolutely have to share with you guys, I'm just going to hop on at my regular time and talk about it. And so, today is one of those days. Today is January 17th, and we are just shy of 3 weeks from the beginning of the next. Well, no, we're not. Now we're 12 days away from the next legislative session, thanks to the governor. And that's what I wanted to talk about, right? I started these during COVID to give folks who aren't, as nerdy as me, who aren't going into what's happening at the state capitol in the level of detail that I am, so that I can give you guys some sound bites, and so you know what's going on without having to go crazy like I have to learn and figure out what's going on. So for those of you who may or may not have heard, the governor has asked for our legislators to go to start session 1 week earlier. Well, it's a special session, and it's going to happen 1 week before regular session starts. Now, the issue that he wants them to take up is giving a tax break. That's how he's touting it, that he's going to give this tax break, and Oklahomans have saved this money, and they should have it back in their pockets. Every time, no, let me not say every seems so general. The last three times, governors have done this motion. It has been followed cyclically by not immediately and not even in the same year. But what happens cyclically is that Oklahoma ends up with a deficit in our budget. It always happens. And so for a banker, you would think, hey, he knows about banking. He knows about money. No, he knows that it is an election where people are election year where people are paying attention, and he's trying to get attention. Nothing has changed since the last time he asked for a special session for this same topic. Back in October, he asked our legislators to come together for a special session to talk about this very topic. Our legislators, and let me remind you that both chambers are in a super majority for Republicans. Our legislators went back to the governor and said, okay, we will go into special session, but you need to come and tell us exactly what it is that you're trying to do and how we're going to make up for the loss. And the governor did not do that. And as far as I'm reading today, he still hasn't sat down with them and said, this is how we will recover the shortfall. Yet we are barreling along, and he's insisting on a special session, and it will start a week before, on January 29th, a week before the regular session. So he's not giving any time for oversight, any time for public comment, any time for the legislators to do the due diligence that they typically do on a topic. The question is, how serious is he? So I wanted to share that with you guys, but also because the deadline for turning in bills, and I'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, and I will be live tomorrow. The deadline for submitting bills is tomorrow. And so all the legislators are doing their research, and they're reviewing the language on their bills. I've talked to several of them today, reviewing the language on their bills so that they can turn in the bills that they want to fight for in this next legislative session, the official one. But there are legislators who are leaking their bills. There are legislators who are going to the press to talk about their bills. And I think, and this is just Alicia, this is not going to be in your political science book, I think that there are three kinds of bills. There are performative bills, and y'all know what those are. I don't have to tell you what those are. Those are bills that are so flashy that for sure the news is going to cover them. Then there are bills that one side really believes in and the other side doesn't believe in, right? Those are those bills. And I think this goes across the political spectrum. And then there are bills that generally improve the lives of the citizens that they represent. Those are the three kind of bills in this girl's categories, right? And so we've had some bills leaked. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the furry bill, because it has already made national news, the furry bill. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction, this legislator, the satisfaction of saying his name. But there's a legislator who's put forth a bill that if a kid says that they're a furry, they can't stay in the classroom and they can't participate in any school activities, and their parent has to come pick them up. And if their parent can't come pick them up immediately, they're going to call animal control. What is the problem that this bill is trying to solve? Is it so rampant in Oklahoma schools that children are claiming to be animals and disrupting class? You don't have to have kids in school to know that it's not. This bill is not aimed at solving any real problem that Oklahomans have. This bill is aimed at maybe somebody from the news will call me and I can get on TV. Right? That's one. Then there's the other one that says, if you are Hispanic and you're in a gang, the state of Oklahoma can label you a terrorist. A terrorist. Now, let's be very clear. I am anti-gang. Anti-gang. I'm anti-white people gang, Black people gang, Native American gang, Hispanic gang, Asian gang, mixed folks gang. I'm anti-gang. But why did this bill decide? Why did this bill decide that Hispanic gangs are going to be labeled terrorists? I'm not going to do any more research. I don't care. It is the definition of racism. What the heck? They will come and say that there's some other issue. But I assure you, as someone who knows about gangs, who's had some proximity to gangs, gangs are gangs are gangs, and they all pick different things as their specialty, but gangs are gangs are gangs. And why this one legislator has decided to pick on the Hispanic community, there's not an answer that's going to make that okay. It's not. It's one more bill. This isn't a bill where one side agrees and another side doesn't. This isn't a bill that improves the lives of Oklahomans. This is a bill that gets them some TV coverage. Why? And, with a little racism thrown in, right? With some othering thrown in, the bonus of othering. Another bill. It's exhausting, and we haven't even started legislative cycle. There's another bill that is trying to require that every registered voter, their registration will expire at the end of this year. On December 31st, 2024, none of us will be registered voters. We will all have to re-register to vote. And we'll have to take our birth certificate and another form of ID to go and re-register to vote. Okay. Not only is this one not improving lives, it took our competent state election board 6 years to get electronic voter registration to make it a reality. So we finally have electronic voters registration. And you have to be a citizen when you fill out your voters registration form. And some of us, it's been a long time since we filled it out. You have to provide a state ID. You have to provide proof that you're a citizen, all of these pieces. But what he wants to do is require a birth certificate. So some of us in the office today thought, what would it take to get our birth certificates? Secret. I wasn't born in Oklahoma. I'd have to request my birth certificate from the Commonwealth where I was born. Okay, not really that big of a hardship, but I have to request it and I have to wait for it to get here. one person was born in Texas. One person in our office was born in Texas. And they said that they had to get a new birth certificate because they misplaced theirs and it cost them over $100. And another person who was born in Oklahoma, where it should be the easiest to get your birth certificate. Nope. Our state couldn't handle issuing copies of birth certificates. And so we decided to outsource it. And I believe that they do it, the fulfillment is done in Colorado. So you have to request it at a fee of, I think the number was $100. You have to request it at a fee. You have to wait for it to get here. Why are we adding hurdles to the voters registration process? Why are we trying to reduce the number of people who can participate in the process? Why are we trying to interfere with the franchise of voting? It absolutely amounts to a poll tax. If people have to pay money to register to vote, that is the definition of a poll tax. And it's unconstitutional. And this requiring, so forget the unconstitutionality. What about the part that it's adding an undue burden to our state? Because what will happen is our driver's license fees will go up, or some fee is going to have to go up to pay for this added burden. Why? To scare people into thinking that our process isn't secure? Why? To scare people into believing that there's some illegal voter registration card printing mill. Can't use it to drink illegally. You can't use it for anything. Why are they pretending like the process doesn't work? Oklahoma has arguably one of the most secure voting processes in the nation. It ain't broke. Let's not work on finding something, breaking it so that we can fix it in the name of doing something. So I've given you a list of, I have a whole bunch more, but I'm already exhausted and I don't want to depress you. But I do want to tell you that we have to stay vigilant. We have to pay attention and hold our elected officials accountable, because these are the kinds of bills that they're going to be talking about. How can I other people? How can I make people's jobs or lives harder and jobs? How can I make people's lives harder so that it riles up the Republican base so that they don't forget to vote for the felon in chief, because that's who he will be by that time. So that they don't, I think they're afraid that the Republican base has become complacent as well and won't show up. And so they're trying to rile people up. They're trying to tell them that Hispanics are gangs. They're trying to tell them that there's a real problem, that kids are being disruptive and claiming to be, okay, wait a minute. I do have to tell you one more bill. The chair of the Oklahoma Republican Party is still a sitting senator, a sitting state senator. And I'm not going to say his name either. But he is submitting a bill that is going to require all schools to offer gun history class. I don't know why I didn't say this one first. We have HB 1775 that says that we can't tell the history of some peoples. We can't tell full history because it might hurt somebody's feelings. We have that bill. That bill has been codified as law. Yet, we have a sitting senator who believes that we should teach gun history. Gun history. What could go wrong? We have to stay vigilant. We have to hold them accountable, and we have to make sure that everybody knows that there are legislators at the Capitol who are planning to waste the people's time. The governor is already wasting the people's time because of this special session that he's calling without any real cause. It's going to cost Oklahoma taxpayers $34,000 a day. He's already wasting our money. He's already wasting our money. But these legislators with the gun, the Mexican terrorists, it's too much. We have to pay attention. It's already starting. It's already starting. All righty. Thanks for joining me. Please join me tomorrow where I'll be joined by Representative Mickey Dollins, who will give us some more insight into some bills. And tomorrow we'll talk about some positive bills. He'll give us some more insight into some bills and some updates on things happening in the legislature. Have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.